Yes, it's open.
It's open.
My name is Kirti and I'm a martial artist and also a meditation figure who does some meditation. So.
And today we have with us...
Hello, my name is Tobias and I'm a neuroscientist and, well, moderately experienced practitioner of meditation as well.
Yes, and my name is Kaya. I don't have any fancy titles or something like that. I try to meditate sometimes. Doesn't always work. And I'm just here to ask questions.
And we're here to answer?
I hope so.
Okay.
We'll try our best.
One fool can ask more than 10,000.
Otherwise you just do what I always do with my students, which is like, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. How do you feel about it? It's the psychology sector.
How does it relate to your mother? No, we're not doing that anymore.
We can also dive into that. That would be interesting. So, no. Tobias, your mother.
Now, what do you think?
Okay. The end of the world is near. The end is nigh. Let's repent. Let's repent.
I think today we have two very interesting perspectives on the same topic, which is, from Tobias's point of view, like what does meditation actually do to the brain, or how does that even work? And from you, Kirti, it's more of a practitioner point of view. Like you went through everything, but as far as I know, like I've never heard you talk about putting people in fMRI scans, right?
Oh, no, I heard them really bad. No.
Not
I
for
don't.
meditation, only
I'm not in that area of life. I'm just somebody who's doing this for a long time. I think 40 years plus, way more than 40 years.
45, right?
Something like that. 40. I started to meditate when I was 12 or something like that. 46. Wow, whatever. But I'm just somebody who's off the street here. I'm just.
So street knowledge, book knowledge, yes.
And no knowledge is me.
But the first question would then be, no, that would be me in this
conversation. Okay, that's
okay.
Good.
So the first question would be, what is meditation? A definition. Tobias, do you want to start?
In 2 sentences.
In 2 sentences or less. Period. That is meditation.
Correct.
Okay, so meditation for me or the definition of meditation comes mainly in what I experience meditation to be. I learned meditation at the same time that I studied psychology and neuroscience. So I cannot make a clean differentiation between the two approaches, because I'm a person. I'm not completely neutral and analytical machine. For me, meditation is to tell my mind that nothing else is important right now than to being here. So I stop using the automatic processes that generate words, worries, memories, or thinking about tomorrow, things that I have to do. And I just tell myself, okay, right now this is all not important. Right now I am here and I create space for the things that normally get drowned out by the everyday buzzing of thoughts related to your shopping, to your job, to your relationship. And if you allow your brain to downregulate, to silence these thoughts for a moment, then all the other things in your brain that are normally more subtle, they have the space to be in your conscious mind. And as a neuroscientist, that is for me also, well, we're still studying meditation as a field, as a community of psychologists and neuroscientists. We don't have a definitive answer on what it is. What I personally think, and that is also based in some of the evidence that I've seen, what I think meditation is consciously downregulating the processes that make you feel the stream of thought and the worries in your mind, in your conscious experience of this moment, and focusing on something else. And there it gets complicated when you look in the literature of meditation. I think this is important to mention because when people talk about studying meditation, psychologists and neuroscientists have studied all kinds of meditation. Silence meditation, mindfulness meditation most of all, but also visualization meditations where you, for example, imagine the light of the Buddha shining on you or visualizing certain things. And that is where the brain does completely different things. If you try to imagine something visual, of course, other brain areas, you're trying to activate them. If you're trying to make your mind more silent, then of course you don't activate those visual areas, or you don't aim to activate those visual areas. So it's very important when you look at these studies to see also what kind of meditation are people investigating. And for me, then I take a step back and I try to look at what is the overarching ability, the overarching skill that people train when they meditate, and what can all these studies tell us about that. Okay, that was more than 2 sentences.
2.5.
So how does this line up with your definition of meditation?
I've got a more simple one. For me, meditation is a useful waste of thinking. So what I'm trying to do is to eliminate. It's an elimination process for me. To make an analogy, my mind. I just imagine my mind is a big house full of all souvenirs of my life. The thoughts about this, the thoughts about that. A lot of things are bothering me at one point. At one moment, my house is so full that my mind doesn't have the room to move anymore. By meditation, I put all those things in beautiful cupboards at the side of the walls, and I can walk around again. And sometimes I can throw things away because they don't belong to me. So for me, the quintessence of meditation is to get space in my head. And I do that by silence meditation, I do it by Tai Chi or by martial arts. There are a lot of ways to meditate. I don't think that meditation is a certain thing that you can do only when you're sitting down. I think that meditation you can do it through the whole day, only in short moments. You don't have to do meditation for 2 hours or 5 hours. You can also meditate for only a few minutes or for a few seconds. But just cleaning up and get a new perspective on what you're doing at the moment. This meditation for me. There's 4 sentences, I think, isn't it?
So you're talking about space. How does that tie into what you know, Tobias, about meditation? Would that be like a certain area of the brain or something?
The spatial cortex, no.
The spatial cortex.
We call that the ventricle. There's usually the cerebral fluid in there. That's the space in between.
Like submarine.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah. With meditation, you try to enlarge the ventricles. It's a very serious...
And when are the torpedoes coming in? When are the torpedoes coming in? Sorry.
So,
Space in the brain.
also, this is one of the things that has to do with meditation. It's you're getting slightly crazy sometimes.
Ah.
well, it is that space for possibilities that
Creation.
you enable the brain to have the space to do things that normally you don't, and that means also that you can do things which are not normal. But well, that's a sideline. It's not a certain brain area that gets enabled. It's more that the brain areas that you usually use and which are habitually active and which habitually, by being active, shape your conscious experience of how you experience your life inside your head, that those become silent, and then the stage, that your mental stage, just like in the analogy with your house key, there's room for something else to be performed on that. And maybe the people who are not so, the players in your mind, to make an analogy, which are not so spontaneous, which are not so extrovert, they also dare to come on stage and show you something that you haven't known yet, that you haven't seen play on that stage.
You have known it, but they were overwhelmed by all the sounds and meanings and all things around you.
Yeah.
And then you've got this possibility to show them again.
The big marching band,
Yeah.
you tell them to go off stage for a bit, like the Radetzky march,
Yes,
and
you get the singer-songwriter in front of them, and
then this or the silent mime comes on stage and shows you something.
Yeah.
Which, or maybe the mime was there the whole time and just the Radetzky band was like in front of it.
Yeah, and also the trick here is that by meditation you give the space, not space, you got the possibilities of creating new things, creating new ways. You get a new perception of things around you.
But to go into like a more spiritual direction here, is that then the soul?
No.
Oh, but what is it then?
What is what?
That mind.
The mindset is the connection of your emotional and rational behavior.
So then it's still in like Chinese 5 elements, it's still metal.
Yeah.
Well, what does it do then?
It orders your life. It makes your life more foreseeable. No, that's the wrong word. It makes your life less complicated.
Less complicated.
What you're doing is getting your goals straight without messing around. It means that all the things that normally makes abbreviations from your path,
Yeah.
it really focuses back to your path. And your path is not from A to B, your path is walking your life. And with our mind say we have to go there. But our life says, no, you have to walk this path.
So you're listening to your life?
Yeah.
But that's not your soul.
No, yeah, you're listening to your soul. Yeah, that's coming in.
Yeah.
It's the moment that your mind is so in, does the same thing as your life wants. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, now we're going on a high spiritual stuff.
No,
Yes, Tao, it's Tao, yeah.
Okay.
It is Tao, because what you're doing, Tao or Tao, what you're doing, you have to walk your life path, yeah, right? And you can adjust, of course, but you can also abbreviate from it. And
deviate, you mean?
deviate from it. And sometimes you go so far in your deviation that you can't see where you're going anymore. And that moment you're getting frustrated and you're getting, things are, everybody's against me and I'm just a victim, blah.
Okay, yes.
The trick is that you always have control of your own life, but you have to take it. Yeah? Your spirit says that you don't feel okay on that path. If you go away, if you deviate too much, your spirit says, oh wait, it doesn't feel okay. And there's your inner confrontation comes from. The moment you feel that you're on your path again, you feel, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, minor setback, don't care. But if you're far away from your path,
it feels old.
every little stone on the way is like a big mountain. I can't.
Yeah.
So the more you're on your path, the more you follow your soul, and your soul is also a spirit. Well, there's a lot of things to tell you about that as well. And the less your mental, your rational, your emotional state is involved, the more you can see your path. It's covering up, and by doing meditation, you're covering up all those mental and emotional states rational and emotional state, you make it clear again, then you can see your path.
Okay, so
It blocks your path. It's the Radetzky mask in front of the mind player.
okay, so meditation then kind of creates space, but the space is not your soul. The soul is what can then enter.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe let's, for the sake of having a common ground, define like what do you mean by soul, what do you mean by spirit.
Yeah, definitions.
Yeah,
Oh God.
it's always. I mean, for me, soul and spirit are one.
Okay.
Yeah. My soul and my spirit are the thing that makes me grow.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get another perspective on things.
Mm-hmm.
My emotions and ratio has to do with me in this world. My spirit can fly everywhere, but my body, my energy, my connections have to be in this world. So my emotions and my ratio are the ones who are translating what my soul says to my life, to me, to my ego.
Okay, so what would this then, if they have done research in this area, how would that translate to your field of expertise?
Yeah, that's where where I have to seriously backtrack here, because I have no idea what you mean by soul.
Okay.
And you use the term, and you use the term. I don't even know. I mean, and
You
you're trying to get clear what you mean, which is apparently not the same.
No.
And I don't know what you mean by soul or spirit. And is it now? You say your soul and your spirit are one. Can you use those terms synonymously?
For me, it's synonymous. Yeah.
So okay, we can only say spirit or only say soul. Maybe that simplifies things already.
Soul, yeah.
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 So then, what is, when you asked, "Is this your soul?" What did you mean by that?
Oh God.
This is what you do as a psychologist, basically.
Okay.
And how do you feel about it?
First of all, what are we talking about exactly, and what does it mean for you? And then we try to find, okay, what does it mean? Because it sounds like an exotic concept, it sounds like a very esoteric or spiritual concept, but people have this notion of a soul or of your spirit, and that's in many different cultures. And so there's some aspect of thinking about yourself and putting your own existence into perspective that has a significance for people, and it had it for a long time, and it has it across different cultures. So that's where, as a psychologist, I say like, hey, that is something we can look into, but we have to get the definition clear, because otherwise
we're talking
alongside. So what is for you the soul, Kaya?
I think what Kirti just said, that makes a lot of sense. I would then I would put it in a nutshell as the thing that's authentically you. But I am not entirely sure how to define it properly, because even values, but it's basically the thing that you feel indeed when you're making a decision, and you feel like that's right, and you might not be able to explain it, but something is right for you or wrong for you, and that's not a value judgment on that decision itself, because someone else could be making it and could make another decision, and that would be fine, but for you it makes sense on like a very deep level.
You feel happy about it without using your instinct.
Yeah, joy.
Joy.
Not actually happy, because that
joy,
kind of fades.
Yeah.
But it feels light, peaceful, joyous. It just feels.
It hits the right button.
Yes, it resonates with you.
Yeah.
And then I would say that the thing it resonates with, that's the soul.
Okay, so basically it's like a sounding board, and you try a thought on it.
Yes.
Ouija board.
Huh?
That's for others. So.
Sorry. I get so mixed up nowadays.
It's an internal one. Yeah, it's indeed a sounding board, and but you don't actually know it, and I have trouble with this, because on one hand I'm like super curious to find out what it is, on the other I'm like, but is that not like trying to conceptualize everything? And that's like the downfall of like old people.
It's so out of our system that we have trouble only naming it.
Yes, but it is that sounding board, and it's maybe okay that you don't know it entirely, but it's the thing that you feel it anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be for me the soul, which would translate into what you just said, on how to use it and listen to it.
Yeah.
But then I'm trying to think about like doing some research on it, and I don't know if that's actually possible, because
No.
then you're trying to conceptualize more stuff, right? So then you're not even using. Are you then using the entire capacity of a human being?
I don't know.
I
I
have
don't
no
know.
idea.
I don't know what. The only thing is that I can't grab it.
Yeah.
So I only can listen to a thing. It's like the sun. I can't touch the sun. It's too far
But you
away.
feel it.
But I feel the warmth of the sun.
But then it's
Yeah.
internal.
And that's it.
So, thinking about one interesting aspect of how you form your
Decisions.
experience about you in the current moment. It gets built up. You have this part of the brain called the insula. It's basically on the side of the brain. If you imagine a brain and you have these temporal parts on the side, if you would grab under the temporal part and inside, that's the insular cortex.
Massage
Yes.
this.
If you massage very hard on the temples, no, don't. Please don't.
Okay.
If you listen to this, please do not do that.
It's not healthy.
Well, that's the insular cortex, and in the back of the insular cortex, you get all somatic impressions. That is how your body is reacting to something. For example, and Kirti, you know this from massage. Like, how is that person experiencing this touch right now? And the body is a certain filter.
Yeah.
It has this body attention there. Has this body been touched, for example, at the arm in a nasty way because somebody dragged you away on your arm? What is your association with somebody putting a hand between your shoulder blades? Do you feel support or do you feel pushed? That is so many different variations you can imagine. Now that's the back part of the insula. Then, if you go slightly more front, you get the signal from the body, but then added in gets information from your older parts. You have the amygdala, for example, which is very, very fast. If you see a snake, it makes you afraid. If you see a spider, for people who don't like spiders, it makes you afraid. Like in that moment, you don't think about it. It's like just like this, something is wrong, I need to be scared.
Yeah.
But also other emotion related areas. You have the whole limbic system that feeds into the middle part of the insular cortex, and then that combined somatic and emotional information goes towards the front, and there the cognitive information gets added to it. Some researchers have speculated that this is what forms your conscious experience of the moment. There's some interesting research that if, for example, the emotional content gets very high, that there's less space for example, the rational perception of time. That's why emotionally very intense moments can feel so time diluted for you. It's a very interesting thing, and if you say that the what you call the soul or the spirit is a sounding board of what it is for your whole somatic, emotional, and rational being, when there's anything, any thought, any decision, any impulse, any impression comes to you, then I would say that process of unifying information and how that information gets unified and what you then do with all that information, and there I would say that includes intuition. That includes what your body, how your body reacts, but it doesn't make it necessarily right or wrong, but it makes it, if you allow this to happen without a lot of what we call priming. A lot of like, but I have to do this because, for example, my parents would be unhappy, or I have to do this because I just saw this advertisement. I have to take the decision for something that gives me a lot of money because I just saw this advertisement for this cool car. You know, that can muddle the waters, that can make you deviate from your path. And if you reduce all of this priming, all of this deviative tendencies, then you can feel something really with how it resonates with the whole you. That is authentic, yes.
Yeah, and that's what I try to do.
It doesn't mean it's right, but it's authentic.
It's what I try to do with meditation. It's getting all those filters off.
Yeah.
So you get the real information. If you get the real information, you can deal with it. And you can never reach that complete, neutral, real information.
And you can never predict the future.
So it's okay. But you can, every time you go further and deeper in that layer of all those prejudices and whatever is around you, every time you get more to your own soul, your own resonation, the more clearer it sounds. Every time you're thinking the right thing, it resonates.
Yeah.
And then you feel it's okay or it's not okay.
So the soul is basically that sounding board when it is
I would say
clean.
I would say snare.
Yeah.
And the more fine-tuned that snare is, the more it will resonate on the right sound of your thinking, of your being.
Yeah. And that for you is then depending on what something evokes in you, something that is a thought that confronts you, a decision, something that you see.
Yeah.
That is then
my soul gets feed.
Your
so my
soul,
my snare gets better tuned.
Yeah.
And the more my snare is tuned the whole time, the more it's in movement, the more there's development. If my snare doesn't get touched because every day I have to work and I hate my work and every day I have to go to work and I hate my work, my snare is dead. So at the end of the day, I don't get energy, I don't get love, I don't get food to heal myself.
So the soul is the ideally tuned snare, and everything around it is something that's, you know, like whatever, somebody attaches like a little weight to it, or there's some dirt on the snare, or
it can be, but it can also, everything around you is making it vibrate.
Ah, yes.
Everything around me is making it vibration, and the more clean my snare is, the more feeling, because it feeds me on a very deep level. It makes my human being okay. It doesn't have to do if I'm sick or not sick, or if I'm pain or not pain, or if I've got big troubles or not. No, it only has to do with my human being is better. And I think for myself, for instance, if I'm massaging people, or I'm helping people, or am I in a martial art fight, the moment my snare and the snare of the other one are in the same resonance, the same movement, then I can react on what things happen. And if my snare is stronger, I mean cleaner and more in sound of me, the stronger I am.
Yeah.
Can you then also adjust?
Yeah, you've got the possibility to make it stronger, longer, shorter, whatever you want.
No, but can you influence the other person?
Yeah, of course. Quite easy. If somebody has a basic tone that resonates with a lot of other people, you get a lot of people who. Why are there leaders and not leaders? A leader is somebody who has this movement,
vibration, which is
very common to get in, and this person will lead.
Okay.
That's my idea about it.
They can also very easily adjust. I mean, if you look at the process that many populist people come, who not necessarily have a very strong idea of themselves, but who react, they just say 100 different things in front of people, and they notice when does the crowd react, and then they start saying more of the things that the crowd reacts positive to, and that's how they maybe not even say something that they actually
Believe.
necessarily had as
Yeah,
their own idea.
yeah.
If you say something in front of a crowd and the crowd reacts to you very strongly, you will start believing it at some point.
At one point, yeah, absolutely. But the trick is that you're starting with a vibration that everybody goes in. Hello,
Yeah.
I'm breathing. Oh, you're also breathing. Oh, and I look out of the side. Oh yeah, also look. Oh man, we are the same. And from that vibration on, you can differ it and you can make it, fine tune it. And now all the people with green hair are terrible, and all the people with long toenails are, oh my good, and they destroy. And then you got this vibration. You lead the whole group, and that's what I can't explain with my brain. I have to do it human being human and try to make the same resonance with all those people and then take them away.
Now, you can't explain it just with rational thinking, but you explain it when you take the body, and that's where it becomes way less esoteric. I mean, we are not only our brains, we're also our hormones, like adrenaline,
Yeah, absolutely.
oxytocin, we
Yeah.
know that creates such a group thing. And oxytocin, for example, it's you call it cuddly hormone, but it's also the kill everybody who's not in your in-group hormone.
Yeah.
Oh god.
It's like, yeah, you
It has
be,
two sides.
be cuddly to each other, but
Yeah.
everybody who doesn't belong, be
Yeah.
not cuddly to them.
That's why mothers of newborns are
Deadly.
yeah, it's like
But what you're doing then is creating this environment where you can take people with you, so you can, but you have this resonance, and this resonance is doing things with your body.
yeah.
I think it's a reaction on what's happening around you, and it's not that your body does things and therefore you're starting to do things. Only there's something physically wrong with you.
Yeah.
So for instance, if a part of your hormone system is completely off because of I don't know what, drugs or medicine or wrong too much alcohol or whatever, then you start to do things that are not normal, and that's sickness. And that's sickness from inside.
Mm.
Yeah, you also have the sickness from outside, you're getting the shingles or getting a brain.
You can always catch a virus or
yeah, that's something else. But this is, and the stronger you are, you got this resonance with yourself, and the less you hear to other people, only take your own resonance, and that's what you're doing with meditation, is to find your resonance, to find your snare and feel, wow, this is vibrating, and therefore I feel if something is getting out of my tune or in my tune.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. Is it logical?
I don't know.
Me neither.
I'm just trying to understand stuff, okay?
Me too.
Yeah, but I think that's something that we can say then when the soul is the clean sounding board or the clean string.
Yeah.
That with meditation you aim to make it as clean as possible for you in that moment, and then things can present itself or themselves spontaneously to that snare in the moment, and you can listen to, hey, do I like that sound?
Mhm.
Or what does that sound tell me anything?
If the snare is there, you can hear the sound, and you can adjust this person or adjust that food or adjust that situation. You feel there's a change in the sound. But if everything, that sound, the food, everything goes around, you don't hear what's happening because there's too much influences.
Yeah, that's
If
like
you get
see the
one influence, you can see, this is good for me. Oh, this is not good for me. You get a real perspective in how clean, the cleaner you are, the easier it will be. You will recognize if there's a distraction or it's feeding you.
Yeah. But it's also when you're doing like a task or something where just cleaning the dishes, doing the dishes, advanced stuff. Then you just want to focus on like the cup that you're cleaning at that point in time, and not like the entire stack
Pile
of
of,
plates that's
yeah.
next to you.
Yeah, you're doing what you're doing and nothing else. And then you see that you're doing those things, and at one point, hey, I'm ready. Oh, it was so much. Oh, it's nothing anymore.
Mm.
And then you're only focusing on the moment, and that's what you're doing with meditation. You're focusing on the moment, what you're doing, and not what you have to do or what you did. No, you're only doing the things you're doing.
But I'm still not entirely sure what is this. How does the soul then present in the brain and the body, does it even present itself? Like,
I mean, the soul is an analogy.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can physically isolate and that you say like, okay, we found the soul network in the brain.
This cell is the bottom.
But, and it's not even, so that is where it is necessary to be a bit flexible. What is really inside of you, what is really happening together with the outside. When do you need to tell yourself there is an outside way? When people imagine something like in meditation, the light of the Buddha, they try to make what I call an outside loop. We talked before about part of what Kirti's pre-meditation exercises, setting the stage, setting the space, telling yourself that everything is okay. That is very hard work, because you need to prove to your body that you are safe, that you have drank enough, that you have gone to the toilet, that you have enough food, that you are in a safe space. Okay. And you have to tell that to yourself, and you have to start believing it.
Yeah.
I found that very interesting when you mentioned that. If somebody else is there who tells you, okay, now you're sitting, everything is okay, you are much more inclined to just accept that.
Accepting, but you don't create it.
You don't create it, no. But as humans, we need this outside loop, somebody else telling us. And a lot of the things that we do with our mind is creating this, like, not I am giving myself this feeling of peace, but it is the Buddha that I channel, and his light shines upon me, and then it gives me that peace.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it myself, but I
So
make somebody else
responsible.
doing it. Yes.
Responsible. That's the
but
problem.
doesn't that then completely undermine the idea of, trusting yourself and doing this exercise yourself,
Yes.
and actually going into meditation very deeply?
Yeah, but it depends on what you're calling, how do you define the meditation. If you define meditation in taking rest of yourself, then somebody else can take it over.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But if you're meditating for yourself, you want to go further, then there's only one person you have to listen to, and that's yourself.
But then because I'm then trying to find the value in actually having, like what we talked about as well, like guided meditations or something like an external Buddha that's shining a light, which then would be maybe, because at some point you might hit a plateau, right? And you might not be able to go deeper, and you might want to explore that plateau for a bit. So then those type of things would maybe be useful anyways.
Yeah,
or
of course. It's useful, only it's useful to a certain degree.
Yeah,
what do you want to reach with your meditation? Do you want to reach...
Okay.
It all depends on what your goal is with meditation. If you want to have in the beginning, if you start to meditate, and Tobias will say that as well, that if you start to meditate, it will be difficult.
It will be
difficult. It's really difficult. And at one point, you feel that's, for me as well, it was very difficult in the beginning. At one point, it's an automatic stuff. I don't have to think about it anymore. Mm-hmm. Every time I'm breathing, I'm breathing in, I feel tension in my body. When I breathe out, I let it go. But it's the years and years and years. Mm-hmm. And people always want to run before they could walk.
Yeah.
And with a guided meditation, you can run very safely. Somebody takes you by the hand. But if this person is not there, you're running somewhere.
Yeah, and you don't know where, you don't know if you're
doing
it right.
And that's no problem. If you have, nowadays you got those beautiful apps who can guide you somewhere. But you only go where the teacher is bringing you. You never go where the teacher doesn't bring you. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, because you probably know where to go as well, right?
For me, every time I meditate, it's a new thing.
No, but then it comes from the inside. Yeah. Like that's what you apparently at that point in time had to explore.
Yeah, that's good. And sometimes it's not good. Okay. But that's the difference between the different styles of meditation. Mm-hmm. When you bring it from the outside, you give your control to somebody else. Now, that's awfully said, but I don't mean it like this. Mm-hmm. But if you use that kind of meditation way, from the outside, somebody is guiding you. No problem. And it guides you to a good place. No problem. I trust it. If I do it myself, I don't know where I'm coming.
Yeah, that's scary.
It's a lot more
scary. But that's a very valuable skill to then.
Yes, that's what you're doing. Yeah. Then you're creating the whole thing.
Yeah.
You're creating, and that's what you want to reach.
And that is that is where I have a very, very big. One of the most fundamental realizations that I had as a psychologist and neuroscientist is everything is only your brain.
Yes.
The whole universe. Even that you hear Kirti talking now, that is your brain telling you that. That is your brain filtering and letting something through. That is your brain shaping and interpreting what is really
Yeah, but
happening.
the interpreting, that's the difficult part, right? Because
It always
it's
does
not
that.
actually true, right? We're not our thoughts.
Yeah, but
Like, we
this
just have a perception of the
And
world.
that is where most people make it very difficult for themselves because they want this authenticity of not. So the people, if people hear that, but that medicine that you were taking, it wasn't actually making you better. It was just a placebo effect. They feel like, but I was stupid. No, you were not stupid. Your brain was doing something to help you heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you invent whatever a saint figure or the Buddha and people hear like, okay, but there might not be really that Buddha there, and people but then they're disappointed. No, people always want this heroic authenticity while it's only their brains. It always has only been their brains.
Yes.
They need a goal as somebody who they can worship or whatever you want.
Idealize.
And from that there's a path, and like Buddha or whatever, like Jesus, there are good paths. They're all good paths. Only
They're not theirs.
not
Always.
not always theirs. Sometimes you can go from Jesus to Buddha to Mao to
Oh, God.
Genghis Khan to God, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care. Only if it feeds you, it develops you,
Yeah,
it makes
okay.
you better, then it's a good path.
But then we return to like, you can learn from everyone, but
Yeah.
it's very important to be able to make a distinction what to learn from them,
And
right?
that's the
And then
snare
there's
again.
parts that you might actually benefit from because they showed you something, they might be a role model, and then there's some parts that don't resonate with you. And this is also something that's very difficult in the current like cancel culture. You throw a whole person out just because they did this one thing, and it might be horrible, right? And I'm not saying like all people that got cancelled
Are not worth to be
that
taken.
shouldn't have been cancelled or something like that. But it's just that it's missing a nuance of
Yes, that's the trick.
of
One-
this is valuable for me, and that's
my teachers taught me to learn from everything. Everything. How the cupboards are standing, how the chair is feeling, how people around, what kind of food. All those things you have to learn from it, and not everything is usable for you at this
Yeah.
moment, but it's always usable in a way of I can throw out because I know what this happens, and this is very worth. It's something
yeah. But that's
worth
the
for me.
skill you want to train.
That's what you're training, and that's the resonation, what you're training by meditating. That's the skill of being your soul. Then you feel it and you say, this is good for me. And this, it could be good for me, but it's not good for me.
You can also learn how to not do something.
Yes.
But that's
Oh,
also
there
a
have
verb.
been very many people in my life that I'm like, well,
Well, that happened.
that happened, and I am not going to follow
Bye-bye.
that. Yeah, no, that's
We,
Exactly.
this is how it's not supposed to be for me.
We are going to...
And that's why it's also people that you do not agree with can.
Okay. Yeah. Please continue. Don't
Well-
stop it then.
Also, people that you don't agree with, you can learn something, and maybe it's also something. Why do I not agree with it?
Yes, exactly. So you can flip that
Why?
around.
Why do I have such an aversion against something that I might not be able to explain? That's also something valuable, and that is in particular with people who study in psychology. If they have an aversion against something that they have to learn because it's part of the science and the literature and psychology, then it is part of what is human. You
Yes.
don't have to like everything that it's human, but it's there.
Yes.
We're not telling you that it's good and that you have to cheer it on. Like when I teach people about stereotypes and the horrible things that people can do with their stereotypes, I'm not telling them to cheer stereotypes on, but I'm telling them that is something that exists, and I want you to understand what it does and how it works.
Correct.
You don't have to like it, but it's there, and I can't change that it's there.
And with that, let's stop, have a short break.
All right.
So, we're still alive, and we're back from a break. Okay, so there's another question that I have, because you, Kirti, were not able to meditate for a while
Yeah.
after you had heart surgery.
Yeah.
So how does that then work?
Yeah. How doesn't it? It didn't work.
No, but what happened then?
Oh, what happened then? I couldn't meditate.
But how?
You know, meditation is a state of feeling yourself.
Mhm.
And I had heart surgery, and my heart was not there for at least 4 hours or something like that.
Mhm.
And that meant that my lungs are also not working. So they told me, they told me afterwards, we bring you almost dead. There's almost no life in you. And probably some things helped me to get this feeling went away for some time, to find my snare.
Mhm.
So it took me time to find my snare again, to find my soul again. And a lot of things are happening with if you're being operated, they bring you down, of course, and they make you sleep. They're doing things with your body. So physically, you're being cut open, saw open, whatever, they do things. Energetically, my energy is all over the place, because they make it go down as far as possible. Then you got my ego. Yeah, of course, your ego goes away, because you are healthy. No, you're not healthy. You're going. Then your spirit and emotional, you're getting frustrated, because a lot of things are happening. You can't do anything anymore.
Mhm.
And then you can't reach your spirit, because there's too much frustration, too much rational conflicts in yourself. So you can't see yourself, and then it takes time. It took me half a year, and sometimes even still, I can't meditate, and that's no problem. But if I'm going to, I want and I need and I shall.
Yeah, then it doesn't work at all.
Correct. Then you're fighting against yourself, and I don't fight. I just accept that's happening, and that helps me. Meditation helped me to accept that things are not always okay. So I try to learn from it. So I learned from it. So I took myself even further apart.
Mhm.
So when I was building up this meditation course, I tore myself apart to see what happened, and I noticed that the end position, meditation, breathing, blah blah blah, is just the end position. It's not the starting position. Your starting position is that you're standing there and you want to meditate. That's your starting position. And every time I'm meditating now, I'm starting again in the starting position. I'm standing here, I want to meditate. How am I going to meditate? What am I going to do? So the first thing is then make space, make time, and sit down, bum, 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 bum. All those steps, and then automatically I go into meditation. But if I don't take this time, I don't do this effort, how can I reach something then? If I'm still out of balance for myself.
Yeah.
So I can't feel my balance.
So it made you more aware of the state you need to be in order
Absolutely.
to meditate.
So it was a big disadvantage, but in the end it's an advantage. I learned from it. And I don't say that everybody should get a heart operation. If you can avoid it, please do. Please do.
This podcast sponsored by Jeremy Cigarettes.
Oh,
But
that's not real.
I don't
What's the
smoke.
brand from The Simpsons, right?
I've never smoked or whatever. But
No, you never smoked, you don't drink alcohol, you never drank alcohol.
No, I sport every day long. I do meditation 1-2 hours a day. Whatever, I'm doing my things.
Yeah.
But it's this world. There is contamination. There is. You've got parents who have heart problems. Yeah, cool. So I was lucky or not, whatever.
Well, you were lucky that they found it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, of course. And that's also, at that moment, I thought, hey, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
And my meditation said, the way I'm thinking about myself now is that I'm somebody who needs help. So I'm not afraid to ask help. I'm not afraid to see my own shortcomings.
And mortality.
And mortality, yeah, of course. You're only immortal for a limited time. It's from Rush, my favorite band. We're only immortal for a limited time. I think that's one of the best ways to tell me you're only immortal for a limited time. And yeah, it helped me to find my own resonance again, my own soul again. It took time, and it's good. And I'm not in a hurry.
But sometimes you also have to deviate in order to
Yeah, of course.
walk back or...
If you deviate, you feel what's right and what's wrong. There's only going to be light if there's also shadow, and vice versa. And that's okay. That's no problem. That's what makes us human. Otherwise, we're only godlike. God mode.
I play The Sims, so find my outlet there.
All right, cheat.
But Tobias, you also had a pretty big health issue, and could you meditate afterwards, or during, or before? I have no idea.
Well, so before depends on when you, definitely before.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was lying in the hospital and I had a severe inflammation in my lung after a pulmonary embolism, and that was going into a sepsis of the central organs, which brought me close to death. There at one moment I was very focused on what was happening in my body, and I tried to help my body as much as possible. So the meditation that I went in, I could meditate, but it was not even so much me actively going into that, but my body actually went there itself. And I could feel things happening in my body. I could feel peaceful with what was happening. It took away my fear, and it also made me realize, hey, this is a really serious situation, but I want to stay here. I don't have to stay here. It was really at this moment that my brain was doing things with all kinds of chemicals. We know how that works by now, more or less, how some of the parts of a near-death experience work. For example, out-of-body experiences. We can now artificially create them. It's very much fun.
Okay.
But
without actually being
dead, like there's some part of your brain that basically tells you where you are in space, and if you use some little techniques called transcranial magnetic stimulation to mess with that part of the brain, you can see yourself from above.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So that's one of the things that people describe from an out-of-body experience, near-death experience. I had a near-death experience where I saw like a golden light in front of me, and I knew if I go towards, or if I go through that door towards that golden light, then my heart will stop and I will not come back.
But you were having too much fun here?
I decided that I want to do things here, and I told that to myself, and I said it out loud 3 times, this is not my time. And it felt peaceful to go there. I wasn't afraid of going there, but I just decided to stay here. And it was very funny. That day, for the first time, despite having several days of IV antibiotics, that day for the first time my inflammation value started going down. So this tangles a bit with what I said before, that we always need this external pathway, but we're doing a lot of this ourselves. Our bodies and our minds have an immense power, and that the brain and the immune system is linked. I mean, ask anybody with allergies where the immune system gets overactive, how, for example, stress can make it much worse, but it can also work the other way around. Your brain can also help your immune system. We have that power, but we always want something external to legitimize that power for us. I always say we as a species have like a collective minority complex. We don't want to be as powerful as we actually are.
Okay.
And so when I was sick, that is one of it was so powerful what my mind could do for even like something, the inflammation values in my body, and that connected with my sounding board, because in that moment there was nothing else. If you're lying there and you're nearly dying, you don't worry a lot about have you done your tax report or have you answered all the emails. I can tell you for free, you're not going to worry, oh, had I only worked more. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to think maybe about some people that you love, but at that moment, not even anymore. It's about what is really you, and with me in that moment, the sound of, or the resonance of, this is not my time, sounded, so I stayed.
Okay.
Just talking to yourself without getting schizophrenic, yeah?
Yes.
It's talking to yourself, and it's talking to you as a human being and you as your soul, and they're talking the whole time, or the whole time. You don't listen often, but sometimes you can listen. This meditation, and then you can find out the real things. Most of the time, you feel that you're way, what Tobias said, way stronger than you think that you are. Way stronger, and you're so much more clearer, and you're so much more gifted as you think that you are, because we are using our system that we are always trusting other people. We are always trusting other influences, and at the moment you're being thrown back to yourself and only your pure self, then you feel, hey, I can do that. Hey, I'm strong. Hey, I can do this one. Oh man, I'm so much stronger than I thought. And that moment is enlightenment.
But then your two health situations, though very well, no, then both are actually near-death experiences, right? If they bring you down so close to your life.
At that moment I didn't feel a near-death experience. I had a long time before that already.
Okay,
Yeah.
but then
The aftermath,
Yeah.
that is similar though, because I had a lot of fear. I felt very, very vulnerable because I was suddenly, I mean, I do a lot of stupid and dangerous stuff. I go play in the ocean, I go to the jungles of Borneo, to all kinds of different countries. I dive, I'm a rescue diver, I'm a surfer, the ocean is one of the most dangerous places there is. Things that I do are usually, or are often dangerous, but I calculate the risk, I prepare, and I usually survive. And then I go to bed and I nearly die.
you usually survive.
But I usually survive, and then I go to bed, and I go to bed apparently so wrong that I nearly kill myself. That's something to digest. Yeah, it's like I messed up going to bed in such bad way. It's like nearly killing yourself by brushing your teeth.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
It's like,
I can understand. Really, I
Well, you
fully
should never
feel this.
walk with your toothbrush in your mouth.
Also, we're coming to your near-death experience. So
I killed everybody around me, and now is this a near-death experience? I'm very near to the people I killed.
Okay.
Sorry.
That connects to how you actually came up with the idea of creating the circumstances for meditation. You suddenly felt how it feels to not have that basic trust that you are safe.
Yeah.
I had that too, and that is that fear that you have, that panic because I was also in and out of the hospital 4 times before finally everything was fixed. And so you can imagine the fourth time when they said, yeah, okay, now everything is fine. It's like, yeah, right. I heard that before sometime. And so you don't trust it. And that lack of trust, if you don't have that, you can't meditate, because it's very, very hard to meditate, because part of your mind doesn't want to sit down and go silent. It wants to worry because it tries to save your life.
Absolutely. Those worries are important and they're necessary, but they're not always necessary.
Yeah.
They're only in certain moments necessary. But if you make your circumstances as good as possible, then you feel, hey, I can let go of this fear, of this expectation of being vulnerable, of being not there or whatever. And then you get your relaxation, and then the moment that you get your relaxation, your levels of I will always say your levels of adrenaline will plummet, will go down, and then the possibility of other things exist.
What helped me really is to realize, and I really also have to thank my psychologist for that. We reflected this a lot, and at some point she helped me to have the realization that the fear of dying that I had was also the love of life.
Yeah.
I love living. I really love living. I don't want that to stop now. This is not my time. I don't want to go yet. Yeah.
But you can accept it if it's necessary.
If it's necessary, then yes.
It's there. So there's no need, no greed in it. It's just, if I have the possibility, I will accept life. If I don't have the possibility, I will accept death. But it's the acceptation of both, of being possible to accept both, that makes you really free.
I wouldn't say I don't have the greed for life
no
more. I still feel greedy for life. I feel hungry for life.
Yeah, but you don't want to at the expenses of other people, at the expense of other things. So if a child, if there's a moral it's not a moral despicable. It's just a way of. Now I have to explain myself. Damn.
Yes, yes, you do.
Sometimes people want to have life at all costs. At all. If I have to sell everything, I want to live. But you can accept if there's an end to your life. That's what I mean. There's an end to a life, and you can accept it. If you can accept it, then you're free.
Then isn't that what they say in Buddhism, like the desire for something?
For something? Explain
yeah,
something.
In this case, life.
Yeah, but for me, it's the acceptance of something. I'm accepting that I'm alive and I have to do something with it.
I'm here for a reason.
Yeah. It's not, I want to live, yeah, cool. No, I want here to do something. That's why I'm teaching. That's why I'm massaging. That's why I'm trying to help people. That's why I'm there. I'm not there for me.
That was the strong thought in me in that point. It's like, that was literally when I said, it's not my time. The thought was, I'm staying here to do something.
Yeah. To benefit humanity, more or less. This is very noble said, but it's just, I'm living. I'm trying to help people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make things more acceptable, more easy, more. That's what I'm doing.
Sustainable. In this day and age.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do, and not about me. And
no, I'm also here for other people.
Yeah, but and this.
But I love doing that, and I enjoy the hell out of it.
Of course, that's what I mean by being a warrior. by the originally being a warrior is at the help of other people. A warrior is not somebody who directs and says this and this. No, the warrior is at the service of other people, and that's what it should be. A warrior shouldn't be the person who says, this will happen. No, he should be only used, and I mean literally used if somebody's in danger, if a group is in danger, then they should be used, and otherwise not.
And it's also not being invulnerable, and that's
what
it teaches us as well. I think well, I don't want to speak for you, but these experiences, you mentioned that you ask for help now much more easily. I had to learn that as well,
Yeah.
but I do it, and it turned out to be such a rewarding and connecting thing, because in the end it teaches also people that even somebody that they perceive as very strong
Yeah.
can do that, which enables themselves to ask for help. It's not a sign of being a failure. It's
Yeah,
not a sign
but
of
that's sorry.
weakness. Yes?
Rant over here. Okay, but that also has to do with how we perceive like feminine and male traits, right? And the energy in that, because we have this problem with people. No, a lot of people have problems asking for help, which is inherently like this feminine trait. It's the feminine energy, which is like residing in mainly the belly, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't connect to it at all.
You
sorry.
don't connect to it. No, but okay. So okay, let me explain it this way.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, the opposite of asking for help is being self-sufficient and doing things yourself, right?
No, for me not.
No?
It's the opposite of asking for help is not asking for help.
Okay, but if you don't ask it, okay, then I'm going to try this differently.
How does it relate to your toothbrush? I mean, I think you're making that, yeah, okay.
No, it's more that I hear a lot of guys, men, say that they have problems asking for help. And in general, women do this more easily. But it's not necessarily perceived. Huh? No? Okay.
In my practice, there are so many male and female human beings who ask for help.
Yeah,
I don't
but
see the
might that
difference.
not be a biased sample because they apparently are stuck somewhere and then they have to go to you?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. But there's also a lot of people who don't ask
No,
for
but
help.
I'm generalizing here in terms not of like all males do this and all females do that.
all right.
It's
that's
more
right.
that there are these traits and there's this energy and we're all like balanced.
Yeah, you have to be
in
woke.
that.
Come on.
You have to be woke. No, I'm just using like yin and yang,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
No, but you mean on average that there's more help-seeking behavior? Well, I would say it's more certain ways of asking for help
Yeah.
are more associated in our culture with with femininity, but I would say it's how you look at people's calls for help, what kind of possibilities to ask for help do we teach people, and that is something, and most of all, when do we let them try it out, because asking for help is indeed something confronting, and we give people not a lot of chance to try it out, and then in a situation where you actually are feeling not safe, not good, then maybe you are scared to actually show your vulnerability, because that can even lower your chance of survival. I mean, asking an attacker to please stop is telling them that you are weak and that you have no defenses, and then we know from psychological research it encourages them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Because
go
then
on.
you can win.
There's no defeat possible. You already won.
it's basically telling them to. So some years ago, with some other students, we tried to set up the self-defense program for women, and I looked in the literature how, because there has been a lot of research on this, how actually attacks on females go, and what factors make them more or less harmful, or more or less, from the perspective of the attacker, successful. And what really encourages attackers is pleading, because then you're basically telling them, you have already won, I have nothing left to defend myself. Other common misconception, if you fight back, that you would get more injured. No, you don't get more injured. If you fight back, it is actually because, and it doesn't even have to be that you successfully fight back.
It's just that you do it.
Is that you have done something. It doesn't mean that the attacker will not succeed with whatever they want to do with you in less ways, maybe slightly, but that you heal from it mentally is the chance is much higher if you do something.
Otherwise, you're a victim in two ways. You're a victim of the thing that happened to you, and the victim of yourself. Because I should have done, and this is something that we always underestimate.
It's not logical. You are no victim. You have no guilt, but you feel like, oh, there was something that I could have done, and that can be so hard in the road to mental and emotional recovery for people.
That's the biggest issue. Your self-esteem goes away then.
And then you should meditate.
No. Yeah, okay, of course, you should meditate, of course. That's logical. But that will help you to be more proactive in what's happening to you, because you got an oversight. If you're meditating and you see this doesn't connect with me, this makes my snare trill on the wrong way, throw on the wrong way, it doesn't work, so I have to resist it. That's what you learn from it. If it doesn't belong to me, I have to resist it. And that's what's happening then. If somebody is attacking you, that's what I meant further earlier. That's if you're fighting, my resonance and the other one's resonance has to be in balance or out of balance. If I'm able to put it my snare under more strength or less strength, I can make my opponent totally I can fight him. Because I want to fight, oh wait, he's on a different level. Wait, he's again on a different, again in a different level. So they have to adjust the whole time. They get tired of it.
Okay.
They don't want to fight it. People who are standing in the metro and looking down, they are a victim. They can be a victim easily. If they're looking up, so their resonance, they are staring with their resonance, the attacker says, oh no, I don't want to fight this.
That's not a good candidate.
It's not a victim. It's somebody who's strong. So if you're pleading for, oh please don't hurt me, then you're already weak. And then you get easily preyed on. If you say, come on, let's fight, probably your opponent says or no or yes, but then at the moment I have fought. So you stayed with your own resonance and not with the other ones.
Yeah.
The trick is to stay with your own. You have to be able to put your own energy in it and not the energy of your attacker. That's the whole idea. In martial arts, the first thing you do is get out of the way of your opponent's force. Get out of the way. And from there on you apply your own force. But first get out of the way of the force. You don't want to overtake him and you don't want to block him. You want to slide him away or her away. Yeah. Oh, well, and then you're going to hit. Because you want to stay in your own strength. If I'm hitting, I'm not hitting everything. I'm just staying there with myself. The moment I'm with myself, I'm really hard and strong and really cool. Yeah. If I follow the other one, I stumble behind the other one. I'm going to lose, always. It's not physically, it's mentally. I can win the fight, but I lose my mind in the fight.
Losing your mind in the fight.
Yeah. That is the most important thing. Right?
Okay. Well, I think I'm done asking questions. Still don't know why we find it so hard, or I kind of do know. Why we find it so hard to ask for help.
Well, a lot of things in social, because you normally don't train it, because you normally, well, we try to be self-sufficient. And that can be the guy who doesn't want to go to the dentist, maybe because he's scared of the dentist, but it can also be, and I see this with some friends of mine who are single moms who are perfectly overloaded with having to work and having to at the same time manage their little family, a lot of times they also don't ask for help. So it's just people cope with that in different ways. Well, let's not go into the coping. Why don't we ask for help? Well, it's the vulnerability. It's also the personal sense of failure. You open yourself up to allowing other people part of control over your life. I mean, if you go to the dentist will control your life in the sense like he tells you to sit down in a chair and open your mouth and don't move too much, despite you wanting to leave there with all the fiber of your beings if you don't like the dentist. I mean, all dentists listening, please, this is just an example, no offense to you.
Ines is lovely. Ines is lovely.
Ines is lovely, yeah. She's also not sponsoring this podcast.
When I lived in Amsterdam, I still went back to her in Heerlen.
Yeah.
To go to the dentist.
But
find the link in the description. So, but your automatic tendency in an emergency is to maybe hide. So there's this little story of where it nearly didn't go so well. I was surfing in Sri Lanka and it was very high waves, and at some point I lost grip of my surfboard in a very high wave while swimming out. And then I thought that surfboard was pushed by the wave towards the beach, and I was away from the beach. But then, lo and behold, the wave had actually pushed the surfboard under, and because it's very buoyant, it came up again, and it hit my head. So I was standing there, or swimming there rather, in the water, in high waves, next to my surfboard, and suddenly I had this pain on my head and I couldn't see in one eye, and I was like, oh, that's not good. I might have just screwed my eye, and I'm on Sri Lanka, like 8 hours away from any hospital or from any serious hospital, and in a country that doesn't have great medical care, and I might just, I was already seeing myself with an eye patch, and all that was going through my head, and I touched my head, and my hand was full of blood. And I was still in the middle of the sea, you know? Mm-hmm. And only at that point, and my first thought was, oh God, that was so stupid, I hope nobody saw this. Which, if nobody sees you and you're in that situation, that can be really bad.
Yes.
And so only after, okay, maybe this is really bad. I am bleeding, I can't see from one of my eyes, and I am in the ocean. Yeah, maybe this is a point where I actually should ask for help. Mm-hmm. Then I started, so there's when you wave your hand over your head from left to right, that's internationally recognized, hey, I'm in trouble in the water. It's like every diver, every surfer will know that. Yeah. And then yes, other people came and they helped me to get out of the water, and okay, my eye was fine, it was just the blood in there that made it impossible to see.
There's a lot of blood comes out from your...
Yeah, my head would bleed so much, and
it has to be warm.
Yeah, it was fine in the end. I still have this nice little scar here, and I look like coming out of a bar fight for 2 weeks, but in that moment, the first thought was like, oh my God, that was so stupid, I hope nobody saw that. Well, clearly, I needed help, and I realized I should ask for help.
But then the question is that external? Is that nurture from the society, or is that a very instinctive thing?
That's a good question.
It depends on if it's acute or it's slowly building up. If things are slowly building up, you don't want to ask for help. You got it still under control. You're losing control, but you think you have control. With Tobias' story, it was acute. Bam, 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 bam. So blood, you need help. immediately.
Yes,
First thing you think is, oh, why should I ask help? But then you say, all right. Then your mind comes in, your ratio comes in, your emotions come in. Yeah, I need help. Okay, I'm going to ask for help. But if you're slowly going underwater, I mean, in sense of you don't have money and you have to pay every month, but pay 2,000 euros, and you only make 1,500 euros or 1,950 euros. Next month, and slowly going onward, it's way more difficult to ask for help.
Yeah, but then still, is that thought first? Is that nature or nurture? Are we not just not programmed to ask for help?
There's a certain instinct, and you see that in animals, if they are wounded, they hide.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's normal.
It's like, and in particular, I mean, we are omnivores, so we're not pure predators, we're not pure herbivores, but in particular, predators, they have that very strongly that they hide because they know how preying and predating works.
Okay, yeah.
And by making yourself vulnerable to the outside world, you don't know who all is going to hear you. Maybe it's just your friends who hear you, and that's okay. And that's why we encourage people to be in a good social setting when they are vulnerable. That's why we also try to have good bonds with them when we are in psychotherapy. You need to have the bond first before you can ask for help. Somebody coming to a psychologist, they will always, or they will most of all, and probably you can relate to this with your practice, like they ask for something little, something innocuous. They say, oh yeah, I sprained my ankle, or I sprained my knee doing sports, like something that is acceptable, something that is rational. And then you massage them, and then suddenly, oh yes, but I have this trauma, and actually my life is not working so great. And
you start small, you end big, most of the time. Yeah.
And as psychologists, I think every psychotherapist will be able to confirm that this is how it goes.
Yeah.
So you don't start with, tell me about your mom, right?
The second.
First, tell me about your toothbrush. No.
Yes. There's nothing wrong with the toothbrush.
There's everything wrong with the toothbrush, but okay.
Okay, well, with that, we are now wrapping up. See you next time.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Tobias.